Hello. Again, looking at functions, we're going to look at something that's called the difference quotient today. The formula's here on the screen. F of x plus h minus f of x, all divided by h, where h doesn't equal 0, is called the difference quotient of the function of f. Wonder where that came from. What if we had 2 points? One of them had an x, and the other one had an x plus something, just so we change x's, so we add an h to it. Then the y for this one would be plugged into our f, and it would be f of x. And this y would be f of x plus h. Okay, so this could be our x sub 1, y sub 1, our x sub 2, y sub 2. And notice up top we have the difference of f of x plus h and f of x. Well, f of x plus h happens to be our y sub 2. F of x happens to be our y sub 1. So we're subtracting here. Oh, seems like we've seen a formula before where we subtract y sub 2 minus y sub 1 on the top. And on the bottom we put what? X sub 2 minus x sub 1? Let's try that. X sub 1 is x, but I want x sub 2, don't I? X sub 2 is x plus h. And then I'm going to subtract x sub 1, which is x. And when we look at that, the x's add out and we're left with the h. So this is sort of like the slope, isn't it? The slope between 2 points, x f of x and x plus h, f of x plus h. That's interesting. But each time you're asked to do the difference quotient, you will be given the formula. So today I'll give it to you because I didn't write it on all the slides. So let's look at finding a difference quotient when we're given some points here. Find and simplify the difference quotient for f of x equals 8x plus 1. Well, one thing we need is f of x plus h if we're going to plug in our difference quotient of f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. So let's find our f of x plus h. That is 8. Replace our x with x plus h plus 1. So now we're ready to plug in the f of x plus h. So we have 8 times x plus h plus 1 minus our f of x, which they gave me as 8x plus 1, all divided by h. All right, so now distributing, we get 8x plus 8h plus 1 minus 8x minus 1, all divided by h. Notice now that 8x and opposite of 8x add up to 0. 1 and minus 1 adds up to 0. So I'm left with 8h in the numerator, h in the denominator, and h divided by h is 1. So I have 8 as my difference quotient. All right, ready to do another one? We want to find and simplify the difference quotient for f of x equals x squared minus 3x plus 8. So starting out like we did before, we need the f of x plus h. So empty parenthesis squared minus 3 times empty parenthesis plus 8. And I'll put in those empty parentheses x plus h. So now my difference quotient is f of x plus h, which is x plus h quantity squared, minus 3 times x plus h, plus 8. Then I'm going to subtract f of x. And here's my f of x right here. X squared minus 3x plus 8. So do you see right here f of x plus h minus f of x in the numerator from our formula? And then we divide by h according to the formula. So we have it set up. Now our duty is to work it out. Now remember that when we get ready to square x plus h, this is not a product to a power. So I can't use the product to a power rule, which says square the first, square the second, because these aren't factors. So I need to think of this as x plus h times x plus h. And I'll get x squared plus xh plus xh plus h squared when I use FOIL. Then distribute here and get minus 3x minus 3h, bring down the plus 8. And then I distribute a negative 1 in and get minus x squared plus 3x minus 8, all divided by my h. Let's see, last time a lot of stuff added out. Let's see if that'll happen again. Well, I see an x squared and a minus x squared, so that's gone. I see a minus 3x and a positive 3x, so that's gone. I see an 8 and a minus 8, so that's gone. Let's see what's left. We have an xh plus xh. Why don't we just stop and add that up? That's going to give us 2 of them. And then we have an h squared and a minus 3h, all divided by h. I know when you're working the numerator, it's easy to want to leave the denominator off, but make each line equal to the previous or equivalent to the previous one. Now, do you notice that we have an h in every term in the numerator and the denominator? So if I factor out an h, I ought to be able to reduce. So h times 2x gives me 2xh back. H times positive h gives me positive h squared. And h times minus 3 gives me minus 3h, all divided by h. Then h divided by h reduces to 1 over 1. And I have 2x plus h minus 3 left for my difference quotient. Okay, that concludes our difference quotient for today.